I would just like to begin by asking our panelists to just say a few words about themselves and their organization and how your work has been striving towards achieving STG number 3.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nicole Hayre. I am a dermatologist in Virginia, and my background is that I graduated from MIT. I've done a lot of research, so I'm going to go on about research in a little bit. I've worked at the NIH and Merck, as well as labs at MIT, and I'm, as I said, a physician dermatologist in Virginia, and I want to thank George and IdeaGen for having me here today to share my work with everybody.
What are some strategies or initiatives that can be done to advance good health and well-being for all? Dr. Hayre.
So my work really started off as a small project in my office. As I mentioned, I've done a lot of research through my years, and I just love it at heart. And now this research has turned into something with really a global message. It's really rather interesting, and it's a bit of a story. So I've been in practice almost 20 years, and over those years I've gotten to know my patients pretty well. And some of them have been coming to me for about 20 years. And sometimes it happens that someone will walk in and I can see a change in their skin. And it's not the expression on their face, it's not their attitude, it's their skin. And it can be a positive change or a negative change. And then we get to talking and I find out what has been happening in their lives. And, usually it's a positive change. I hear about a new love or an engagement or something like that, that wonderful glow that we get. But just as striking is when that's taken away and the skin looks depleted. So it got me thinking about it, and I said, okay, we're always talking about estrogen and progesterone, especially in my office, as I see mostly women. And then at one point it hit me, it's oxytocin. This is oxytocin, the love hormone. So, through the years, we've always thought of oxytocin as something just really involved in intercourse, in nursing, in birthing, and we really haven't paid that much attention to it. So I dug a little deeper. It turns out that oxytocin is produced in the skin. It's produced when you caress the skin. It's produced when you cuddle, when you snuggle, when you get a massage. And in fact, when I did some more research later, I found it's produced when you do something you enjoy. So someone who likes to sing and they sing, their oxytocin levels go up. And even dogs sense their own oxytocin levels. And they're pack animals, think of it. They're social, right? When their oxytocin is low, they snuggle you. And their oxytocin goes up, and so does yours. So I had to look into this, right? And why is the skin producing oxytocin? Well, it goes further. We have receptors in the fibroblasts in the dermis. And so for those of you who don't know what that is, those are the cells that make collagen. And so that protects our skin, makes it a little plumper. So why is the skin making oxytocin, then binding it and protecting itself? Because when it binds this, it actually turns off a destructive phenotype called SASP, so senescence-associated secretory phenotype. And this phenotype is usually on, so it's like this default that's slowly destroying your skin, slowly aging you, right? But when oxytocin is present, it shuts this off. So I had to look into this with my patients. Can I see this clinically? So I did a little pilot study in my office, and I got some brave women who were willing to let me photograph them and give them a skin age score, and I had to have them collect their urine for 24 hours because that's how you measure oxytocin. And we looked at a snapshot in time. What's their oxytocin level? How good do they look? What's going on? So with the skin age score, if you're 40 and you score a 40, you're average. If you're 40, you score a 30, you look good. If you're 40 and you score 50, you need to come to my office. So I was able to look at all of this, and it was fascinating because what I found was the woman with the highest oxytocin level in my study looked the best in spite of having the highest lifetime sun exposure. So this is crazy cool, okay? Goes further. So when I plotted all the data, It was a linear correlation with how much oxytocin people had and how well their skin was, how healthy they looked, how youthful they looked, right? So I was blown away. This is new in dermatology, right? So here it was, and I'm sitting there in my office writing up a paper for a peer-reviewed journal on this, and I thought, why the heck is the body doing this? Why is the body doing this? The body doesn't like to waste energy. So I looked, in PubMed and did a search. Turns out there's preliminary research on oxytocin in every system in the body, in your heart, in your lungs, in your bones, everywhere. There are receptors for oxytocin in your GI tract even. So what's the body doing? And it occurred to me, this is a social system that's ingrained in our bodies. It's so cool. This is biologic proof that we're supposed to be social. We need human contact. We need to be in touch with one another. We need to be good to each other, really, okay? So why? Because think about it. When we were out there and we didn't have skyscrapers and all these amenities that we have now, we were out there trying to survive. Who's going to survive? It's the people who are social and communicating and involved with one another, right? The person who's off on their own, they probably didn't do so well. So this is ingrained in our body, evolutionarily speaking, I believe. And so I coined this system, the Oxytocin-Social Exchange System, and it has a positive feedback loop. So the more social you are, the healthier you are, the more vibrant you are, the better you look, and the more attention you attract from others, right? The people who you want to be around and hear their opinions and all that, they're kind of vibrant, right? They're lively, they have something to them. And this helps all of that. It's so interesting. I could go on forever about it. But anyway, my study was published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Drugs and Dermatology. Then Dermatology Times did a story on it, and it was actually named one of the top stories of 2021 in dermatology. So I think this is really important. I think this is something that we've all been missing. And I think that in the future, as more research comes out about oxytocin and how important it is in our bodies and for our lives, that we're going to look back and think, oh my gosh, how silly were we that we thought this was just involved in a couple of things in our body. It's omnipresent, and we need it, and we need to pay attention to it.
Where are we, and what needs dire attention, in your opinion?
Well, for me, I was listening this morning and someone joked and said, retail is the center of the world. And I immediately turned to my husband and said, it's family, right? Family's the center of the world. We need to promote that more. And I think that in modern life, we get away from that a little bit too much. And we're so worried about all of these things that we want to do. And our devices are constantly in our faces. And we need to put them down and look across the table at each other and reconnect, because it's so important. I don't have a study proving that when you see a smiling face in front of you, your oxytocin goes up, but I would bet money that it does, because how miserable was everybody over the past couple of years when you couldn't see your friends and you saw them on a screen, or you saw them in person and you couldn't give them a hug and you couldn't see their face. It wasn't the same, because it's so important. It's really ingrained in us. We need to reconnect. It's for our health. And the anxiety that has been taking over society, and especially in the kids. Now, I think that part of it is this. Now, on the other part, I think it's the food, so don't get me started on that, because I'll go on about that. But I do think that, there's just this epidemic of anxiety in our children, and I think they need a solid base. We need to say again, you know what? It's okay to promote a nice family life, and families can look different, but they need to be solid. They need to have stability. They need to have dinner together. They need to talk. They need hugs. when my husband and I hug each other at home and the kids are around, they run and try to get in the middle. And I always laugh, like, is that an instinct? Is that like really deep down, like they have to get in on it? So, we really need to look at this and rethink what we're doing, and we need to promote family and bonding and not just, get out there and save the world, because we also need to save ourselves by saving our families.
Can you give us just some takeaways that you'd like to share with the audience through your work? What is it that you would like to share with our audience about the SDGs number 3?
I would say for collaboration, really, this is an instance where health and media and even Hollywood need to kind of get on the same page and promote this idea that connection and long, stable relationships are a good thing, and that chaos in relationships are not always cool or a good thing. They need to promote, there's something about when people stick together. And it could be, I could be speaking about a spouse or a friend. These relationships help us through life, and they help us to be healthier. And in fact, I've been speaking to some magazines while I'm here, of course, in the beauty industry, because that's my industry. But just trying to get the message out. I think that it's a good one, and it's kind of funny that in a way this modern science has put me back to looking at some more old-fashioned beliefs that, we need to promote a strong sense of community and human connection.